What's up guys? UFC Fight Night China goes down this Saturday with a super early start time, 6 a.m. for those of us on the East Coast. And it features a main event with Jessica Andrade defending her title against China's very own Weili Zhang. It should be a good scrap. They're both similar fighters in their style. They're both super aggressive and they're both kind of built the same way. Now, Jessica Andrade, for the most part, has been by far, I would say, the strongest fighter in her division. She actually used to fight at 135, and she actually tossed around quite a few fighters at 135. So now that she's fighting at 115, she usually, 99% of the time, has a decidedly huge strength advantage over her opponents. You guys saw in her last fight, if you saw it against Rose Namajunas, which for the majority of that fight, almost the entire fight, Rose Namajunas was absolutely dominating that fight from the outside. With jabs, she was busting Jessica's face up, just pretty much doing whatever she wanted to at range. Jessica Andrade was having a hard time closing the distance. When she did close the distance, she went for a throw a couple times, and Rose Namajunas' defense against it was to grab the Kimura every time Jessica Andrade tried to clinch and tried to toss her. It worked the first, I think, 2 times, and then the third time we saw what happened. She still went for the Kimura, she didn't let go, and she ended up getting tossed on her head and therefore knocked out. So that's how that fight ended. It didn't really prove all that much to me as far as how this fight against Weili Zhang is going to go, because Rose Namajunas and Weili Zhang are completely different fighters. With that said, Weili Zhang has looked great of late. Her most recent performance was against Tecia Torres, who herself is no slouch in the strength department. Tecia Torres is definitely, without a doubt, I would say one of the other strongest fighters in the 115-pound division. So if I had to take a guess, I would say the top 3 or 4 strongest fighters are Weili Zhang, Jessica Andrade, and Tecia Torres, and then maybe 4th, Claudia Gadelha. But for the most part, I think most people would agree with me in saying that Jessica Andrade is definitely the strongest. That is why I think this fight should be very, very entertaining. Weili Zhang is 19-1 as a pro. She's on a 19-fight win streak, and she has dominated most of her opponents on that win streak, including the ones in the UFC. So this will definitely be a step up in competition, because Tecia Torres, although she's a great fighter, she's very skilled in a lot of different areas. She's not quite on the same level as Jessica Andrade is. And honestly, I think if it was Rose Namajunas against Weili Zhang, the fight would be completely different, and I would probably be leaning towards Rose Namajunas just because she had looked so good up until that point. And I would argue she even looked great for 99% of the Jessica Andrade fight up until she got slammed. But that is not the case. That's not reality. Rose Namajunas is not the champ anymore. She did lose to Jessica Andrade. It was a legit victory, and now that has led us to this. Jessica Andrade versus China's own, like I said, Weili Zhang, which once again goes down this Saturday. Weird start time. I want to emphasize this so you guys don't miss it, because I think it's going to be a great fight. 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when the main card starts. Now that we got the intro and all the pleasantries out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into this fight, which once again I think will be a great scrap. I think there's a very good possibility it might be a little bit of a case of too much too soon for Weili Zhang. I say that, but I also think it's going to be a very close fight. I think, like I keep saying, Jessica Andrade usually has such a huge strength advantage over opponents. Even when she fought Claudia Gadelha, who I mentioned was one of the stronger fighters in the division, she definitely had her way with her, and she has her way with pretty much every fighter she fights. Even so, like I said, when she fought at 135 pounds, she was still tossing people around. So she's extremely strong, even more so at 115 pounds. But Weili Zhang is also a very strong fighter. They're built very similar. I think they're right around the same height. They're both very muscular, so I'll be very intrigued and very curious to see how their strength does match up. If Weili Zhang can match her strength, I think she's going to end up winning the fight. If she gets tossed around and ragdolled like a bunch of Jessica Andrade's other opponents, I think Jessica Andrade will retain her title. With all that said, I'm having a tough time deciding this. I haven't seen all too many of Weili's fights, but I did watch her most recent fight against Tecia Torres, and I think I have seen her the fight before that, maybe even 2 fights before that, and she looked great in every performance. She's a very fun fighter to watch. Like I said, very aggressive. She likes to throw that front kick. She's very aggressive with that. She's not quite as aggressive as far as I like to call Jessica Andrade, like mini Vanderlei Silva, because she throws a lot of hooks. She just comes in aggressive, chases her opponents down, hook after hook after hook. And Weili Zhang's not quite the same type of fighter, But that's how Jessica Andrade rolls, man. She charges in with pressure, throwing hooks, hoping to either land one of those power shots and knock her opponent out, which she absolutely does have KO power, which is very, very rare in the 115-pound division. She may be one of the only fighters that possesses that kind of power. And that's always her game plan. If she doesn't land one of those crazy powerful hooks, she's hoping to get a hold of her opponent, grab him, grapple him, and toss him to the ground. That's pretty much always her game plan, and it has worked for her for the most part up until this point, except for her fight against the former champ, Joanna Champion, who did a great job weathering the storm, keeping her distance, and pretty much landing at will from distance on Jessica Andrade. She frustrated Jessica Andrade the whole fight. It's very similar to the way Rose Namajunas did up until the finish. But, like I said, Weili Zhang is not that type of fighter, so we're probably not going to see that type of distance fight. It will most likely be a completely different fight where both fighter, like I said, is super aggressive. Both of them are going to be looking for the finish, and what it's going to come down to, I think, is who's going to be stronger in the grappling. And like I said, so far we haven't seen anybody that can match or overpower Jessica Andrade at 115 pounds. But I do think Weili Zhang has the better striking game. I think she has the better variety of strikes, the better arsenal of strikes. I think she has more in her toolbox. But I do think Jessica Andrade will be able to handle everything Weili Zhang throws at her. Although, like I said, I think she will land some good shots. I think they just won't be enough to stop Jessica Andrade in her tracks. I think she will get inside with her aggression. She might even land a shot that either wobbles, drops, hurts, or finishes Weili Zhang. But either way, whether she drops her with a strike or she gets inside with her aggression and then uses her grappling to get the fight to the ground, I think she eventually will get the fight to the ground. I think she'll prove to be the stronger fighter like usual, and I think she will win a very close 5-round unanimous decision and leave China and still the UFC's 115 pounds women's champion. So there you guys go. That is my prediction for this weekend's main event at UFC Fight Night China. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you agree with me? Do you think Weili Zhang will be China's first champion in the UFC? Or do you agree with me and think Jessica Andrade retains her title and leaves China as the 115-pound UFC women's champion? Let me know down below. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the fights this weekend. And I'll see you next time.
Oh my goodness! Oh my God! Just like that! That is some serious power! Wow!